Stupid. Ah. Stupid. 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 Okay. Don't let me stop you. Whee! Morning. Welcome to Redstone Valley Farms. Almost enjoyable day in February. Almost Valentine's Day. Beautiful 2 degrees outside. We got a little bit of snow yesterday. Probably not enough to justify plowing the driveway. But I can't see my grass anymore. That's really cool. So I figured I'd take you along this morning. Do a little bit of an animal check. Do a couple chores. Make sure everybody survived last night. Didn't freeze to death. Normal stuff. Didn't get too cold last night. Like I said, it's only 2 degrees right now. But next couple days, they're talking we're going to have negative 12 degrees at night, negative 15 degrees at night. So we'll probably check everybody now, make sure they're bedded down good, and then, I don't know, see if we can't survive February at least. Morning, cows. Yeah, I gotta fluff your hay bales. Soph, get out of the hay. Yeah, they're a little snowy. I'm doing all right, though. Oof. Probably gonna need bedding in the lean-to. I see cows out in the cattle yard. It's gotta be where the rest of them are. It really is days like today that bothered me. Personally, I enjoy the cold. Firm believer, if it's not 20 below with 2 feet of snow, you're not even having winter yet. But 2 degrees, and more specifically, a drastic change like we've had. You know, we were 28 degrees, 25, and then all of a sudden, boom, drops down 0. You get a bunch of snow. That's not good for any of the animals. And then, like I said earlier, you know, we're going to have negative 12 tonight. If the temperature stays consistent and it stays dry, then usually we don't see any issues with any of the livestock. The problem we have is when you have these really drastic swings that go up and down, where you have 45 degrees and then you have 0 degrees, which we had that earlier in January. Well, I see cows. Huh. It's a little windy, not too bad. And having a night that's negative 12, especially in February, is not anything new to us or the farm or any of the animals that we have. Like I said, the issue is that it hasn't been very consistent. You can go from 25 degrees down to negative 12 in like a span of a day or two, and that's just not good. So, plus, personally, I like to plow a lot of snow. I always enjoy an opportunity to play on a tractor. And we have not had hardly any snow cover all year. So that opens up a whole different issue. Not just, you know, the fact that I personally like to play on a tractor, but I was talking to a couple of the local guys who do like a lot of well drilling and stuff and excavating. He said there's probably about 3 feet of frost right now in the ground, and that creates a whole different issue. But we haven't had any snow cover to insulate anything, so the ground is really frozen. I'm hoping all the winter rye that I planted this fall in our back field for silage bales this spring. I went back there to check coyote traps the other day, and I was kind of looking for it, and I can't see it at all. So I'm hoping I didn't just waste a bunch of money on a cover crop. Well, as you can tell, I'm not outside anymore. Uh, I know it might be slightly hypocritical. Earlier, I said if it's not 20 below at 2 feet of snow, you're not having winter yet, and I hold by that statement. Personally, I enjoy the cold, but I'm not going to lie to you and say 2 degrees is enjoyable. So I go out, do what I got to do, head back inside. Like, I'll play around in 2 degrees, but it's definitely cold. So I went out, did chores, checked on everybody, made sure everybody was good. I'll have to go back out later today, uh, get the 4430 started, and bring a round bale of straw down into the lean-to, make sure that they're bedded down. It's definitely going to be cold the next couple days, so making sure they have good bedding is definitely important. So what you kind of saw is what we have going on. Winter on a small farm is pretty quiet. There's not a lot going on. So um, we do some of the oddball jobs. Usually if something is broken, I take this opportunity to fix it. So the other year we had, I blew the clutch out on my WD and I pulled it in the shed and I used this winter period to go ahead and fix it. New clutch, went through the engine, had it down to the frame, put it back together. Then by spring, had a working tractor again. So fortunately enough, this winter I don't have anything crazy like that. So I don't have anything broken that needs to be fixed. So I've been taking the opportunity to do some more enjoyable things. I've been doing a lot of shooting. I've been doing a lot of trapping. I've been doing a lot of hunting. So I've also been cutting a lot of firewood for the neighbor. So we had a whole bunch of trees that fell down or were on the verge of coming down along the fence line. So took the opportunity to cut those up, hauled them to the neighbor. He heats his house with wood, so everybody wins in that scenario. And then cleared a bunch of ATV trails in the woods just because they needed to be cleaned up. Normal stuff, busy work. So I know I mentioned earlier about the weather swings that we've been having in Wisconsin, so I figured I'd just touch on that again while I'm not standing outside in the cold, and I have some real numbers here in the office. So a prime example would be January. We had a 3-day stretch in January. We had 51 degrees on Friday, high temperature. We had a high of 51 on a Friday, a high of 38 on a Saturday, and a high of 9 degrees on that Sunday. Those types of temperature swings are the ones that I'm talking about that are not good for cows. So if you have a foot of snow on the ground and then you have a day that is 51 and everything melts and everything gets sloppy and wet and cold, the cows are now wet. The ground is all tore up. The pasture isn't doing good. And, everything is wet and nasty and cold. And then from 51, you go to 9. That's where you have cows catch pneumonia. That's where you end up with foot issues. That's how you end up with a lot of the areas that they walk around in, that they move in, like in our cattle yard and around the pasture, in our winter pasture here. That's where you have problems. And if it was up to me and I could have 9 degrees solid the entire winter with a foot of snow on the ground, that would be perfect. Cows can handle that. They get their winter coat, they get acclimated to the weather. We have a good lean-to for them to get out of the wind, and we bed that down with good clean straw, and they can do 9, 10, -2 degrees all winter long, no problem. They're not going to have any issues with that. But the last thing I want is for some of our cows to get pneumonia or to have foot issues or to lose their tails because the end of their tails were wet and they froze off. I don't want any of those issues. So making sure they have a good clean area to bed down in is very important. And then, there's not much I can do about the weather. So you mitigate what you can, and really the only mitigation that I can do for these temperature swings that we've been having is making sure that they can stay dry. The moisture is the enemy that I'm trying to fight. But besides that, there's nothing else you can do. So went out, checked on everybody, and like I said, we had, it was above freezing a couple days ago, and then we had the storm come through, so we got about 2 inches of snow, give or take. And then, the temperature dropped, so I wanted to make sure everybody was doing all right. So I went and checked on them, fluffed their hay. We've been feeding 5x5 net wrapped bales that are wrapped in plastic right now that we made last summer. They're mostly grass, but I'd say they're probably about 20% alfalfa. So we've been feeding those out this winter, trying to hold on to the small square bales that we made. We've been selling those to customers throughout the winter, and I'll probably keep like 100 of them in the barn. So I really like having small square bales, especially around calving time, and you have to separate cows that are about to calf, or you have to separate cows that have already calved and they're trying to steal calves. Like being able to feed an individual bale to an individual cow that's separated from everybody else is really nice. And then same with the horse that my wife has. Like if that thing needs to get out of the way because it's trying to murder a baby cow, then you can lock him up in a stall and then you can feed him a small square bale. But a lot of years we end up just feeding the cattle small square bales. We usually try to put up about 20 rounds every year and only feed them in the winter on the really cold days, where like a day like today where it's 2 degrees out, you can put out a 5x5 bale and they can have free choice, free reign on that. And that'll give you 4 days, 3 days of constant feed, and you don't have to go out and constantly throw hay bales to them, because they, when it's cold like that, they're going to eat more. So giving them the ability to just kind of free run on that, instead of, you might come home from work one day and figure out, hey, I threw 6 square bales out this morning and they're gone. How long have they gone today without hay? And then you feed them another, then you feed them again at night. And putting a round bale out there in the cold is definitely the way to go. But that, for me, that's my preference. So I think I heard a baby. Well, that's my cue to leave. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. We have some interesting things coming up this summer. So the barn's going to get painted. The barn's going to get fixed in spring. We got corn that's going to get planted. Oats that are going to get planted. We have a bunch of work we're going to be doing around the farm when the weather warms up. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for hanging out with me.